Welcome, everybody. This is supposed to be a fun evening, so it's great to hear all the conversation. If you want to hear the panel conversation with these wonderful experts, please do stay with us. But I ask if you can listen a little bit more. If you want to talk to your friends after seeing them after 2 years, 3 years, I'm just going to ask you to stand by the bar. And share or stand by the demonstrations and things like that, yeah? So welcome. For some of you who've just turned up and have no idea where you're at, we're at a panel conversation, expert conversation, where we're going to talk about the metaverse. You may have heard about it. And it's hosted by PSFK and Merkle, and so welcome. I'm Piers Fawkes of PSFK. And we have Vacante of Merkle on the panel. And with these experts, we're going to just talk about the role of metaverse, the role of in our lives, and the role businesses can play within it, okay? Hopefully that will be interesting for 30 minutes. And within the conversation, hopefully we'll move the conversation to you, because at South by, we're all peers, we're all experts. A lot of us are exploring this topic, and we'd all love to hear what you folks are working on as well, and what you think. Yeah? We agree with that? Cool. Yeah.
Vicky.
Some of you may want to come sit down the sides.
We'll take
stand
it.
down the sides, yeah. And Jeff, and you might ask these ladies to move forward.
I'm not seeing a little late night this time. Like maybe we just have
Really? Yeah, it will.
right?
Yeah, 100%. Just walk outside. That's the thing. You have to leave space in like a South by plan for serendipity. Like
We need
things to happen.
Thank you. Yeah.
Have after 10 p.m. conversation.
Yeah, I'm
So let's-
exactly the same.
Like a gentle
You know,
wave,
totally composed.
like a cloud.
Very
below
brilliant.
The
Yeah,
sky.
pretty standard.
You might want to close that,
Then it was some of the most delicious
or one
conversations
door,
I had
Jeff.
with
Okay.
and then you just
I don't know if I'm on. Am I on?
that's how
Turn it up. Yeah.
Okay. So, welcome. Let's start. I mean, I think what I found exciting about South by is, we're seeing the creation of all these new ideas, the creation of technology, arts, creation, and we ourselves are the creators. We're either the ones creating right now at South by, demonstrating, or we go home, we take all these wonderful ideas and we create with them. It's such an exciting, unparalleled festival. And I'm excited to have these change makers, these pioneers, to talk to us about one of the most pressing, exciting, unparalleled conversation. So I'm going to introduce our panel. And on the panel, we have Dan Morris. He's Director of Developer Relations at Niantic. We have, I just got your last names, I've got to remember, Nanea Reeves. She's the CEO of TRIPP, which is, she's going to tell you more about it, a virtual reality wellness organization. You can tell us more about it. We have Vacante. Vacante, she runs product innovation and strategy at Merkle. We have Liz Basilar. Liz she runs global tech innovation at the Estee Lauder companies. Yeah, let's do some whoops, yeah. Who else have we got? We have Gerald Youngblood. He's got actually 2 jobs. He's got a very important job. He's a CMO of North America for Lenovo. And then he's also founder of Tanki, which is a gaming platform, gaming experience, which creates safety for children, safe gaming experience for children, yeah? Which he created after his children's experience. Super interesting. And then we have Michel Attar. Michel is a VP of Business Development at NBCUniversal. So welcome, everybody. It's great to have you. Here comes... We just put one over here and I'm okay.
Scooch.
Great.
Scooch is nice.
So
We had a moment of bonding.
there's a...
Now we can fight.
There you go, yeah, exactly. Okay, so when we talk about the metaverse, I mean, it's pretty broad, okay? It's virtual worlds, it's video games, it's overlays, digital overlays on the real world, it's digital products. Maybe you folks can talk to us a little bit about what's the most exciting thing when it comes to metaverse? Dan, you're closest to me.
All right, I'm in the closest to you contest.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm Dan. I spent 6 years working on VR and now work at Niantic on augmented reality and the Lightship platform initiative to share Niantic's technology with AR developers around the world. So I've sort of voted with my feet on this one. What I think is the most exciting thing about the metaverse is the real world. And the idea that we can mix bits and atoms and turn the real world outside our front door into something magical, something special, something better. And so that I think is the most powerful aspect of the metaverse. I personally really enjoy going into VR and doing that thing, and that's a lot of fun. But there's something just transformative about the idea of stepping outside into a modified, changed, enchanted space thanks to technology. So we're just embarking on that road. It's a long road, but a very exciting one, and very happy to be on it.
Thanks, Dan. I mean, metaverse is such a broad definition. And what's exciting you about various aspects?
Well, there's a few ways that we look at it. We definitely, no matter what your definition of the metaverse is, it is distributed, and there'll be many paths into it. And we are not looking at our roadmap as this is our VR app, now we're going to do our app on Niantic's platform, and then our mobile app, which is being updated this week actually on iOS. What we think of it more like reality layering, with full immersion as being the deepest connection to self. And what we're expanding our offering, which is kind of psychedelic meets meditation meets a happy pill meets a video game. If anybody, has anyone tried TRIPP? Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's been a joy to work on and experiment and think outside the box. And so we're thinking about how to use AR as a way to change the way that the world looks around you. So transform yourself by connecting to self through self-care, and it changes the way the world looks around you. And then we're going to create this connective tissue on the Lightship platform with there's multiplayer services, so you feel connected to others and your community in a way that shows the ripple effect of your self-care. So these are the things that I get excited about, and like, let's think outside the box with the metaverse. Let's not build virtual malls and buy digital Nikes and, you know, replicate ourselves in VR when we can really enhance our human experience, and that's what I get excited about.
That's wonderful. Val, what's exciting you about the metaverse?
I'm really excited. Sorry. I'm really excited about, you know, whether you call it metaverse, you know, whatever the definition. I know there's like a lot of folks out there, this is the metaverse, that is the metaverse. And I just don't think we need like the controversy about it. What I'm excited about, the whole point are these the whole idea of mixed worlds and how we're engaging with technology, how we're engaging in the world. Like, I'm really excited about Lightship platform in particular in terms of how you guys are empowering creators like Nanea and your team, what you guys are doing. I've worked in AR and VR for a number of years, so it's really all about purposeful experiences. So what you're doing with wellness, for example, what you guys are experimenting with everything in the beauty space. With Gerald, what he's doing at not only Lenovo, but also at Tanky. And what I think is really interesting, what you guys are doing at Tanky, for you guys who don't know, it's an entertainment content platform where kids can safely learn about gaming experiences with Minecraft, with Roblox, and so it's just really compelling. So it's all about, in short, purposeful innovation, merging in mixed worlds in ways that are going to get an impact to people.
Great. I can't wait to find out more about that. Liz?
I'm really excited about it touches everyone that I'm looking at right now, regardless of age, regardless of gender. When I look at you, I think, and I ask, how are you going to redefine your identity right now? If you could be anything you could be, if you could look whatever way you want to look, if you want to be a woman one day, a man the other day, if you want to be non-gender, right? So to be able to open up the possibilities for all of us as humans, it changes how we see the world, how we see each other. It challenges us to love each other in a different way. So when I'm talking this way and I go back to our brands, I think, what is our role in this? It's empowerment. We're living in an age of empowerment. What I love the most about Metaverse is empowerment. It's empowering you to create. It's challenging a brand how to show up as an empowered creator that empowers other creators. And when you are redefining what is your digital identity now, whether it's an avatar in a game or whether it's an avatar in a real metaverse, an avatar that will go from world to world, what is our role in being able to beautify you, in being able to give you superpowers, right? So it doesn't have to be just digital makeup. It could be something more emotional, deeper than that. Our brands, we have stories, we have values, they're authentic, they have been going on for years. We are authentic players in the space. So it's time for us to bring our values in a digital way and use them as tools for creativity right now. That's the challenge I bring to my brands. And my challenge to you right now is for you to start thinking, what is your new digital identity from now on?
That's great. I'd love to explore kind of the role of business and brands in the metaverse. But first, Gerald, I mean, what's exciting you in terms of your work at Lenovo and how it crosses over into your startup?
So I guess the main thing for me is, especially being focused on like 6 to 12-year-olds and how they engage with content for the last 5 years, it's that grown-ups are catching up with 10-year-olds, I guess, is really exciting. I remember when the pandemic started and my son went on like what we call the endless spring break because he never physically went back to school for over a year. All the parents were like, hey, let's all get into our cars and drive by a house with balloons for his friend's birthday. And he was like, well, why would we do that when we can make him a mansion and give him an elytra cape and we can go and fly around in Minecraft and I can give him a chest of all kinds of like gold and armor and all these things. Like, that's how kids' brains think, right? They're not trying to recreate our house and our front yard, with a headset, right? They're thinking about, what is life like without physics? And what is life like when my role and how I see myself changes on an hour-by-hour basis? And I feel like the metaverse gives us a way to make it official, right? And dream bigger from a technology standpoint. So, so from our kids' gaming content company, I learn a lot by not being too adultish about everything. And I think for Lenovo, we get a chance to take our technology and go there, right? And use that, all the different touch points that we have in order to facilitate making not just dreams, but like inspirations come true in a bunch of different ways. So, yeah.
Michel.
So I am over in the division that I work with. We are in the intersection of entertainment and consumer products. And to me, one of the key challenges that we currently have, right, is in terms of anything in terms of consumer products. You think about the awareness that the content, the kids knowing about it, the adults knowing about it, but there's a barrier of entry. And then I think that with the metaverse or with blockchain, like if we're able to empower creators and be able to put your content in front of your fans, right, and then generate that awareness in a much easier way, and from there that you can expand it. So I think this is really exciting.
Oh, that's great. So, I mean, I think what excites you most is kind of like how people are using the metaverse and these virtual world experiences, which seem to be very kind of a playful experience. And obviously, Liz, we heard you kind of lean into how a brand and company comes into it. But I sometimes wonder, like, do companies, do brands, do businesses have a role in these experiences?
I mean, personally, I think that the metaverse should be built by its citizens, and all the online communities that you see really actively, engaged audiences in, have these creator tools and even the opportunity to start coding your own tools, and kids become famous and they can even earn their own money. So I think we have to, again, just kind of break through some of these models. If we're just going to keep trying to replicate licensing models and advertising models and all the sucky things we've built in this world digitally, like, we might as well just say, throw in the towel. Like, why would we want to do that? I mean, just the idea, like, I get it from a concept of short-term wealth, but why is land infinite? Space is infinite in the metaverse. Why is land scarce, right? And, that's a sucky model that we have here that we're bringing, like, it's the first thing we did, right? We haven't even built the metaverse. We're selling, like, limited land supplies and, location. So that's kind of, what I think about with the metaverse is, how do we get true innovators coming in and helping us do something different that can help us be better and happier, and also we can create new earning models. Like, look at NFTs, right? I was on a panel with these guys talking about how to do licensing in the metaverse, and they were substantial people in the licensing business, but it's kind of like, why do artists need you, right? Why do they need you, They can market themselves, they can get ongoing payments in a way that they weren't paid in the physical world. So this is what I'm super excited about.
For Michel, I think about you. You can put entertainment, media, and business and brand. How do you think about the role of brand?
Yeah, I think the other way that I feel that it's empowering is that if we think about the consumer today and then the advertising and so forth, I think that we have gone from advertising to influencer models, right? And then I believe that with the metaverse, we're going to be able to transition to more of a social commerce, right? And then in the way that you want to know what your peers, what your friends, what they are consuming, what they like, because you don't want to be, influenced by just some random advertising. I think this is going to change. I think that, the communities that are going to be built around it are going to influence how you're going to end up going and making your purchases.
And it'll be less about consuming and more about creating and building, right?
Who's going to pay for all of this? My question.
Yeah, you asked a quick question. Who's going to pay for all of this? Before we brainstorm the payment and the funding of this, I do want to jump in with this whole notion, because there's this classical view by the authentic or original NFT community on Discord that brands should not be on Discord and brands are not creators. I'm sorry, I am 100% disagree. I think that what you're right, that I think it's great. It's the models are different. The models are different. And we as brands, we're being challenged. We are spending a lot of time with what might be really boring to you guys. Like when someone says innovation, they don't think taxing, accounting, finance, and treasury. Those are exciting calls for me because we spend a lot of time with those guys because we're working with those guys to change the models, to change like the ethos of how a business works. How can we open doors to collaboration, to actually build? Can we have a DAO someday? It's not going to happen overnight. As a lot of companies, a $15 billion company. So we are creating the foundation today to truly transform how business works. And if you look at businesses, not all businesses are created equal. We are a public company with a family that's still on board, that is all values every day. And I'm not talking about on paper, I'm talking all values every day. Those brands have things that they believe in. That you can go a couple Google searches, you could see our values. Like there's all kinds of news that we show by action. So now when you're talking about authenticity and creation, is an opportunity for brands. They are heart, they are really emotionally driven to jump in and empower. They can build in their own right because they have stories, creator stories of their own, but they can come in and empower. They can actually push out products and help fund them. And being able to create points of access. What I love what you're saying is that before, it was the whole influencer game, and if I have something, I would just capture like some major celebrity, and you guys, come on, you don't know better, right? You just follow whatever she says or he says, because that's how it works. Right now, it became story. I love that. It became story-driven. I see people whose names I don't recognize do things that I'm craving for. That is really exciting right now.
Yeah, and just real quickly too, like we're on a panel that was facilitated by a brand. So I think there are a lot of different ways for us to engage and actually, take what's, being built from these organizations. And by the way, organizations are all people, right? Like they're employees, they're people that are trying to feed their family. They want to see their work and the commerce that they generate go to something good. And we can change that model. And I can say from a startup perspective, some of those partnerships facilitate, an opportunity to go and create and build. We have series and shows built in Minecraft that may not have been able to happen without those partnerships. But it's not a broadcast world anymore, right? Where you just say something and then no one can respond, no one can engage. And I think that engagement and that continuity actually allows us to find better ways to put the capital to work, but it's everybody can participate.
Well, and to that point, it's really exciting in terms of, we talk about participation, and you talked about, kids building things. I mean, we're in an ultimate creator economy right now. I think, I believe it's within the next 5 years, the creator economy is due to expand by 40%. And if we think about, the generation right now, Gen Z, everybody's like, Gen Z, but that's a big range. I think about my son, who's 12-year-old. He's technically a Gen Zer, all the way up to sort of the 25 plus. That's a big difference. The common thread with that whole range is they've all grown up on video games. They've all grown up in, if you think about mobile apps, buying goods in digital experiences. Now they're creating them. My nephew actually is making currency in Roblox. He's 9 years old. His dreams to be a billionaire and have his own business. I'm like, you're on your way, brother. But anyway, but then the other thing, so my point is like this generation has grown up with these experiences. So no surprise that we're seeing entrepreneurs right now. I believe it's roughly about 60% of folks who play Fortnite are 18 to 24. So they're playing Fortnite, they're starting their businesses, and they're creating these new models that we can buy from and participate in.
And I will say, I have the good fortune of being able to get venture capital, which is, as a woman, super hard to do. But I saw, thank you. I saw two guys mint some NFTs that were foundational for an idea that they had for world building. In 2 hours, they raised $2 million, and that allowed them to hire 8 more developers. Then they started printing land, and they have raised tens of millions of dollars, non-dilutive. They own it all, and their community has been actively engaged, giving them feedback in real time. They have the community is helping them decide what to do next, and they're a part of that stream. And I saw this happen in 8 months. And I will just say that ignore that at your peril. And it is, to me, I think, a game changer. Because anybody with an idea now, there's a path to getting it facilitated. Just the same way when I first started working in mobile gamings, we had to buy expensive servers, get data centers, all this stuff that now startups don't have to. They can go on AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, and the capital investment to start is much lower. And now with Web3, it's gotten even lower.
Nanea, I'm going to jump on really quick here because you just gave your own answer. When you're describing this interesting, very interesting anecdote of the two guys with the NFT, the two girls, they cannot get done that fast, that easily yet.
The Coven...
and what I'm saying is that we are making...
The Coven has raised $20 million. They're all
but
young women.
I know, but hang on. But I'm talking about not one, but many. If you look at the volume, right? So we are reproducing the shitty things of the regular world in the metaverse world as of now, but we can change it. Right now, it's still hard for minorities. It's still hard for women. And when we talk about the roles of brands, well, we can be tools of equity and access.
Exactly. Well, but also we can be examples, right, to help. I mean, yeah.
I feel you're saying the same thing.
Yeah,
You're
we
coming
are,
from the same
definitely.
place. Dan, you work with other corporations and partnerships and stuff like that. So, how do you see their role in terms of kind of building this metaverse?
I mean, personally, I hope it's less about us building and more about providing tools that let everybody build.
Exactly.
I worry deeply about the influence that a handful of companies can have in this space if they sort of generate, all of the stuff in it.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, that's why I like being in the tools business. Like our company is best known for Pokemon Go, and it's, that's a gift to the world. Like Pokemon Go has done no harm, I don't think. Whereas it's brought millions of people out into the world to meet each other and have fun, and get away from the screen indoors and actually get out to where people do fun stuff. And so for me, I spent 8 years at Facebook, and my personal karma is a little bit wrapped up in this question. And I'm actually very, very glad to be at Niantic working on the tool set that can let any developer take the back-end stuff that powers Pokemon Go and a lot of cool AR technology besides and invent. And that's what I'm happy to be working on.
One thing I wanted to add to that, Dan, thank you. One thing I wanted to add to that is just, I think it's really important, just the empowering of tools and how people are using them. So some people might take the Lightship platform, find some other tool, remix it, and create something completely different, and that's what I get really excited about. And it doesn't have to be like a fancy engineer from Stanford. Stanford's great, by the way, but just saying, it can be anybody. It can be, for example, a collaborator of ours. He's from a very small village in Brazil. He taught himself Unreal, and now he's building out stuff in HeadOffice.Space with that team out there. So anybody can become a creator.
Yeah, I met a mother of 5 in AltSpace, and she had never done any kind of coding, never worked in tech, and she's one of the top world builders in it. And she's hired by brands to build their worlds. She's making a full living. So maybe that's a good way, too, that brands can participate, is enable the creators to build for them.
But we hear a criticism, and your criticism is important.
It's not a criticism.
Oh, your call out. It's important because as we see the opportunities of the metaverse, and I'm speaking just for our group, we did create a filter and which filtered them through.
Right.
It's not about impressions and pushing out product, like you're saying. Yeah. Does this create access? Does this promote equity? And is this sustainable to the point that it's possible to be sustainable? We do try to check the 3 marks before we even move.
Yeah, and I think her story is indicative of something that could be revolutionary. Do you know?
Yeah. Okay, so that's a great example of how a brand can think about working differently in this space and actually helping build. I mean, any other kind of best practices for how businesses could kind of get involved in the metaverse?
I go back to, an old one at this point, and then that helps us think about the future. And then, before Universal, I was working for Disney, and then back in 2008, they purchased this company called Club Penguin. And I don't know, some of you might know, but
Yeah,
it was
I remember.
probably the first metaverse, and it was for kids, right? It was like 5, 6-year-old being there and then, interacting with each other
No
and learning from
chatting,
each
though.
other. and I think it was, it became that, I think, first of all, those kids became more into coding, I believe, than you would see in previous generations or now. And it created like a business model around it. And I think that, businesses like now Roblox and Minecraft and then some other gaming, I think they are taking a page from that, and I think there's a way to move forward, with the same type of model.
Yeah, Minecraft has gotten more young females into STEM careers. You see them go into computer tracks because they see themselves as builders and makers. And we need, if 50% of the population would feel empowered to envision themselves as an architect and a world builder, imagine the contribution that we can shift here.
Gerald?
Yeah, I mean, so one thing I feel like that gets lost because we really want to build and make and do, but there's also something to be said for like consumption and entertainment and being able to partake in the benefits of the world. Like, it's not all coding and all building all the time. I think the thing that's really inspiring to me for kids is that they can flow between those worlds really seamlessly, right? I mean,
that's a good
Minecraft
point.
is near impossible to play if you just sit down and try to play it, right? You need a community, you need some videos, you need a little something, and then when you start to play, you can have your own server. My son's like the admin for the server for his friends and stuff, but he doesn't see it as creating. He's just like, well, I really want dinosaurs, so, we're gonna have to make this happen. But from a brand perspective, I think this is where the brands can actually jump in and add value to the spaces that they're in, right? And in that way, you can participate and still, celebrate the work that you do without it being destructive or interruption advertising all the time.
That's great.
Right.
As I said, we're all peers here. Has anybody want to add to this? Ask a question? Make a point? Okay. Here, you take this one.
Which one? Okay.
Okay.
Gerald, no, I love what you were saying about brands, but let's open the aperture on that. It's not just brands. I mean, there's, governments, NGOs, educational institutions. I mean, I'd love to hear this panel's thoughts on, what work needs to be done to bring them into the fold, and especially as we talk about facilitators and creators. We've heard some wonderful stories about, our youngest generations here being builders, but it's like, they're learning that on their own. That's autodidactic, right? Like, they're not being taught that. Like, do we need to start thinking about infusing curricula with these sorts of ideas? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I'll actually jump in there. I'm really excited because there's actually a tech camp that's out there, and it teaches tweens and various things from like how to mint their own NFT. Right here in Austin, there's one. And so it's exciting to see that those tool sets are out there. With education, I will say, personally, I've been getting some requests coming in terms of like how, like, it's kind of the question, we're hearing about this metaverse thing. What do we do about education? And so we are doing some experiments, just like light experiments. I will say, actually, our friends at HeadOffice.Space are out there, and they actually have a great platform for education. We're doing some testing with different brands as well, in just different ways. So I would say education also, too, in my experience, there are a lot of barriers, but because they're wanting to be more open, I mean, my advice to anybody working with an education is, hey, how can you team up with like the gaming studio at the school? How can you team up with a particular group in the school or a class and just see about doing a test and learn without a massive investment?
But also in education, especially with VR, the brain retains information differently through experience. And so it has a multiplicative effect on learning and training. And that's why you'll see a lot of enterprise adoption. We're participating in several clinical trials. We have a separate product and brand to work in the psychedelic space to do anxiety reduction pre and post treatment. and how that helps you be more receptive to the treatment, how it can impact dose. So there's a lot to understand about how the brain receives these technologies and how we could actually use that in a way that can be enhancing from a cognitive level as well, specific to education. And we saw something too early on when we were trying to, most people think VR and meditation, they're going to think there's a waterfall, you're on the beach, a Celtic voice is going to tell you to inhale and exhale. And when we did that, we went, why does this feel creepy? And there was this weird uncanny valley robot response to, because your brain knows what a beach should smell like and feel like, and it kind of went on high alert, like there's something wrong with this world. And so we thought, well, let's put you in environments you don't have a frame of reference for. So, and it immediately triggered wonder, like, what's a cosmic flotation tank? Instead of showing, telling you to breathe, we show your breath coming out, in and out of your mouth like stardust, because you can in VR. And we can make you feel like you're floating up to another dimension because you can. And so these are, it has a powerful effect on the brain from a mental health standpoint as well. And that's something, we're really proud of the work that we see in our clinical research as well.
Thank you. Any other point? Anybody want to build on anything? It's Dan. I see Dan Berger from Frontier Collective. Do you want to talk a little bit about your work and just share?
Sure. Hey everyone, thanks for the time, I guess. Yeah, I've spent the past decade really focused on democratizing and pushing virtual and augmented reality technology. I really believe that we're at the precipice of a technological revolution that we've never seen before, with all these technologies synergizing: Web3, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, metaverse. This is basically a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that we have within the time frame that we're in, and I'm really looking forward to, really cultivating that community and really looking at mashing up industries together, because I really feel like that's going to be important as we really push this kind of new paradigm shift. So yeah, folks know me through helping build and grow Vancouver's VR AR ecosystem. I've helped turn it into second largest in the world, and we have over 350 companies in the space and the highest concentration of VR AR 3D talent anywhere in the world. So super excited about being here. Great to be back in Austin, and thanks for the time, Piers.
I feel really bad having a piece of paper with handwritten notes now, after everything's converging.
A theme that's come up repeatedly is how do we not replicate the ills of current society in our next iterations of reality? So I'd be very curious to hear from all of you what your favorite watchdog organizations or voices are in the ethics space of VR and AR.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love, she's got a name, Kavya, who's running the VR safety initiatives, and I will get her name specifically. She is a very powerful voice in the community. I'll get the name of her organization.
Dan, with your developers who recommend it.
Well, I mean, unexpectedly, the CEO of Niantic has become one of these voices. John Hankey has been much more articulate than I can be about his vision for AR, improving the world, and in one specific way that is worth understanding. He worries a lot, and I worry too, again, 8 years at Facebook, personal karma on the line, that our collective obsession with a single screen in our homes has not been conducive to understanding one another. And we look at catastrophic conflict in the world, we look at political conflict in many countries, and we start to worry about that indoor silo, and I know all of you worry about that too. That's a big reason why I joined the company that I joined and work for the CEO that I do. This vision of getting people outdoors to actually meet one another and do cool things together, connected and enabled by this technology is, I think it's a pivotal opportunity for us. And that's not to disparage VR, which I love and worked on for a long time, but this idea has a lot of power, and I would refer you to John's speeches in the last 6 months. He's had a lot of amazing things to say about this.
John's last name again is
Hankey. And Kavya's last name is Perlman, and she's doing the privacy and safety framework for XR.
I want to build on Dan's. I think that more CIOs, CEOs, as they see this space and they see this market opportunity, this consumer opportunity, this new revenue stream, there's an also opportunity to lead on that, to live the company's values and to be able to build for good. And as I said, there are companies that already perceive themselves as building for good, and others not as much. So this could be an opportunity for them to join those voices and do so. And that's what I hope is another revolution that we see happening here. It's corporate responsibility shaping in a different direction.
Yeah, and just one thing that I would bring up too is just there's a really big potential for more inequity. As we lean towards these digital opportunities, like a lot of people are getting left behind. And I think, one thing that we've seen in the business at Lenovo is that, going to school from home really exposed the, differences in schools and opportunity to actually continue education for people that didn't have access. And so I think, as we push to get these bounds, these boundaries, of experience, eliminated, we need to make sure that we're not leaving people behind. We have a program here in North America called Evolve Small, which is focused on supporting underrepresented businesses. And so we've done grants for about $1 million in the last 12 months. But I think, coming from a small business too, more important than that, we've also connected those communities to advisors so that they can understand the technology that is going to shape the future. And I think that's something that we need to be really cognizant of, because the thing I love about Pokemon Go is anybody can really do it, right? I mean, but when you get to some of the VR equipment and things like that, you start to expand that divide. And so we have to be really cognizant of, when we're doing something, who are we leaving behind when we're, making these leaps in technology. And I think that brands need to be, and companies need to be on the forefront of that, and be really intentional about, not making that problem worse.
That's great.
I completely agree. And I think when we think about tech for good as a big banner, it's what good can the companies do? So like you're talking about investing in equity. Is it finding the right partners? Is it creating experiences that are accessible and affordable? I mean, that's something in product innovation when I'm working with companies and they're designing a new product. It's it needs to be affordable. And I've even outright said, that is wonderful that, you're an executive and you make, whatever, $250,000 a year plus. Not everybody gets that. Some parents getting 2 Domino's pizzas on a Friday night, and watching a movie is that's what's good for them. So we need to make sure that we're creating experiences and tool sets and everything that are accessible to everybody. And then from a partnership standpoint, one of the things that we do at Merkle is we actually have Next Innovation Scouting, and that's actually where we scout the globe for new startups, new incubators, accelerators, and bring them to brands with a filter that is aligned with their goals. And we'll make the introductions, we'll even help shape out the pilots.
Well, thanks for that, Val. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I will let you. Yeah, would you like to ask something?
Sure, I'd like to. Hi, Piers. So I'd like to make a comment, and some of it is about interoperability, and some of it is kids. As I see us maturing this, I see kids being more and more left out. I don't know too many parents that are going to give a kid their ETH allowance for the week. That's just not happened yet. So if you're in an in-game currency like Roblox, they kind of get it now. But I see I spent the week making a few digital wallets, and I got to tell you, it is not easy.
They left the product managers out.
Oh my God! I didn't have a debit card. I mean, it started. And my $15 experiment cost me $40 by the time I was done with gas. And so it's leaving people out. It's making onboarding kind of very, very difficult, and it's not making it an atmosphere that families will want to get their kids involved in. So I think as it
It'll get better,
matures
yeah.
and brands jump on the bandwagon, to just think about the onboarding part.
Yeah, UX, user experience.
I want to be respectful of time. I know these are all wallflowers, but I do recommend that once we're going to break now. But if you do have anything to say, you want to ask them a question, tell them how great their thoughts were. I do recommend you just come up and see them. I want to thank Michel, Gerald, Liz, Val, Nanea, and Dan for their time. Thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being part of this as well. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. That's great. Really great. Thank you.